Hey, here we are. It's Thanksgiving week. I'm John Felt. This is the Blue Water Outlook weekly weather briefing for the 24th of November. Big story, I think, this week will be a big change in our pattern that's going to bring in a taste of winter to many areas. Let's get started. Well, first off, I know you've heard of that atmospheric river that has brought flooding and extreme rain to parts of Northern California and other parts of the West Coast. Take a look at the rainfall amounts, up to 18 to 20 inches of rain and winds gusting to 100 miles an hour. So really extremely active weather in the western U.S. So right now what we have is we have high pressure retreating. That's bringing some milder weather up into large parts of the Midwest this weekend. But lots of action with these Pacific storms out to the west. And behind it will eventually be some colder air pushing in. Now, as far as last week goes, you can see the action here as far as rain and snow was over the western part of the state. Here is our area of that enhanced precipitation with that atmospheric river. We had some rain here and there over the central and eastern U.S. as well. A few pockets of heavy rain. Look at the panhandle here. Been very dry in some of these areas, and they've been picking up that needed rain in those spots. Now we've started the snow season now, and I think almost every week from now on there will be snow somewhere. Right now it's sort of where you would expect it, with the exception, I wanted to go back here, take a look at this here. You might look at that and think that's rain, but no, that was snow, and very heavy snow in this region here. But other than that, pretty much where you'd expect it, the higher elevations of the Sierras and the Cascades and the Rockies, the Appalachians, and then the northern Rockies and the upper Midwest. As far as rivers go, pretty much normal conditions. Now, we did have some major flooding. It's not showing up here, but major flooding over the areas with that extreme rainfall. Still some high flows due to the tropical activity in Florida. Now, temperatures last week in yellow and orange averaged above normal. That is going to change pretty significantly, but there was some cold air last week. The blue and the purple areas were quite cold, and that's sort of been the story. The west has been the colder weather, the east has been the milder weather, but that's going to change. So I often look at the Arctic Oscillation as sort of the big picture. When it's positive, that means the central and eastern U.S. is usually milder than normal, and when it's negative, that means colder than normal weather. And you can see that shift here right around the corner, going into a prolonged period of a below normal or a negative Arctic Oscillation. So right now, here's our Pacific storm still sitting out there, and we're getting these little breakaways. Here's one that broke away from it, but that's still sitting there. But the focus eventually is going to be a little bit further south later this week. But right now we have this ridge of high pressure, and that's bringing a mild weekend for some spots. But look at this. By Thanksgiving Day, the jet stream has dug way south here, and that's going to usher in that colder air. We also have this area of low pressure, and what that's going to do is sort of focus some tropical moisture, Pacific moisture, down a little bit further south than we saw last week. Okay, so here's the scenario for that cold air. You can sort of see it the first 5 days sitting up here, and that's beginning to sag to the south. It's going to move in very quickly this week and cover a large part of the nation for Thanksgiving. And then as we get into the first week in December, it looks like it sort of lingers in the eastern U.S., and then the west is more warmer than normal. So we reverse things from what we have right now. The west, which has been colder than normal, is going to be warmer than normal, and the east, which has been mild, is going to get that cold air. And this gives you some idea here in this animation on what to expect over the next 15 days. Okay, if you're in large parts of the central U.S. and the east, enjoy that weather today, because here's a good example in Kansas City. 65 degrees today, dropping down into the 40s tomorrow, and then later this week, Thanksgiving on, highs only in the 30s. Any precipitation this week? Well, here's our focused flow. Last week, remember, it was up here. Looks like it's going to shift down south a little bit more. Higher snow here in the Rockies, and then some moderate precipitation in the eastern U.S. What about snow? Well, like I said, snow season has started. What we have here is, this is just the model output, and it's just sort of saying that the atmosphere is cold enough to get some light snow here and there, but really we're still looking at the higher elevation of the Rockies and maybe the far upper Midwest to be the best shot. Now, if you're traveling right around Thanksgiving, take a look at the forecast. There will be a couple storm systems. There's one that's going to be gathering in the Rockies and sort of sliding down to the south and then pushing off to the east. You can see it on Thanksgiving Day. It looks fairly quiet over large areas, but going back, this is that storm system, so keep that in mind. Okay, finally, let's take a look at week 2. Well, that cold air lingers over maybe the 1/3 to 1/2 of the eastern U.S., and then look at all the dry weather. It looks like a pretty quiet weather. So like I said, the big trend is going to be a reversal of temperatures, where the east is going to get much colder, the central and east. The west is going to gradually warm up heading into December. Wish you all and your families a great Thanksgiving, and I will be updating you again next weekend. Probably go a little bit light on the content this week due to everybody involved in other activities. Take care.